Hi everyone, it's David from Automotive Press, and guess who I have with me? Steven, how are you doing?
Hi everybody. Hey David, I'm good, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here in Ontario, Canada as part of the Car of the Year event for AJAC, which is the association we belong to. But more than that, we want to talk about these two Tacoma and also talk about other trucks in the midsize market. Why? Because I need to buy one, Steven, so you got to help me decide which one to buy.
Sounds like
and we'll tell you more about the Tacoma and other midsize trucks. Let's go. Welcome back. So first, right off the bat, we're going to do some quality check. Steven, based on your experience with these trucks, were they always well made, you think?
Absolutely. I mean, Tacomas have that reputation for reliability. I think there is definitely some truth to it. And yeah, of all the brands, it feels like Toyota, even if they do make mistakes, come back and they fix those mistakes quickly. I always appreciate that about them. And I think you're going to point it out, but I'll say it first. These are prototype trucks. And I think that's an important distinction too, right? The fact that the prototypes are so well made is a good sign.
Exactly. And keep in mind that these used to be built in San Antonio, Texas factory where Tundra is currently being built, and they moved over to the Mexico factory some years ago. And so there's two Mexican factories producing the Tacomas. But even though these are prototypes, I'm going to show you how good they are in terms of general qualities. If I were to measure the gaps like I always do with my little gauge here, I will tell you that it is 3.5 millimeter here and just 3 millimeter there. And more importantly, the panels are really well aligned. There's no difference in terms of height between this side and that side. And even here is 3.4 millimeters, and over here, which is a little harder to measure, about 3.5, and then down over here about 3.7 millimeter. And once again, in terms of the actual panel alignment and how well these are stamped, so they go through a stamping shop and then they go through a finishing shop. But look at it. Look how the lineup, everything lines up. All the creases line up really well, and the paint job looks pretty good. Do you like the paint, by the way? This is called Terra, I think.
Yeah, this is the new Terra color 2024. I'm a fan. I like it. I think it'll look good dirty. I think that's the key. A little bit of dust on it won't show it too much. I think they could have called it caramel, though. It would have been a better name.
Yeah, I don't mind the color. I'm not too crazy about it. I definitely prefer the color on the Trailhunter there.
Okay.
But just coming back to quality of the paint, I mean, you know, it's got really good gloss, very good amount of clear coat, not too much orange peel.
Yeah, a little orange peel, I was going to say, but not too bad.
You always get that, especially on sort of Japanese Toyota models tend to have more orange peel than others. But I like the color combo, but I'm not sure about the Terra color.
It is cool that they still do it for TRD Pros,
That's
though, right?
true.
Give you that unique color every year.
So we'll do a quick check on the Trailhunter. I'm going to do on this side just to be different. I did measure all four sides, by the way, just so that you know I did that. But it's actually even better here. 3 millimeter, 3 millimeter, and actually 3 millimeter here as well.
Beautiful.
And then a little bit more here, 3.2. And if I can sneak behind the trees here, 3.1. So the panel gaps are very similar within a very small difference between these two, but this one is a little bit better, but that might just be in terms of when the prototypes were built, because they keep refining the process. So I can only imagine when the finished product comes off the assembly line, it's going to be even better than these two. And to get 3 millimeter of a gap, it's actually really difficult. Most cars are between 3.5 to 4 millimeters. So for a truck to achieve a 3 millimeter tolerance, absolutely world class.
Absolutely. And you said it there too, trucks. There's this thought that maybe trucks are just, no one cares as much about those finite details, and that's not the case at all.
Yeah, because the external quality of these models represent sort of a quality control for everything else. So if they get the outside done right, then most likely interior, the powertrain, all of the quality will be done right. But they follow the same standard, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Now, what about, I know you don't have the gauge or anything here, Steven, but just from your perspective, when you went to see the GMC and the Chevrolet trucks, did they look like they were also well made?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I've recently been in a brand new GMC Canyon, the new Chevy Colorados. They seem to be well screwed together as well. I think the biggest difference there actually is a step forward in interior quality in those trucks. Right. The old interiors to the new ones, it's a world apart, not just in terms of materials, but also in terms of some little quality issues that we notice in the old trucks that the new ones don't have. So I would actually say those GMs have stepped forward a little bit in that area as well.
And Steven, any difference external-wise between these two, not in terms of quality, but in terms of features or other differences?
So you mean between this truck and the
these
GM
two, sorry,
truck? So
between
these
the
two
TRD
sitting
Pro
here,
and
gotcha.
Trailhunter, yeah.
So here on TRD Pro, obviously you got the hood scoop. That's sort of the biggest styling difference that you're going to notice right off the bat, right? The grills are both the same. I did notice the Toyota on the Trailhunter has that bronze Toyota, whereas here it stays the clear silver. So those little differences. Overall, though, I like the styling, and I think that unlike the Tundra, which frankly was a little polarizing, you know,
Yes.
it really changed its look. Tacoma just feels like it grew up a little. It kind of just
Right.
became a little more aggressive, a little more bold, but not a crazy departure from what it used to be, which for a product that is the best-selling product in the market, you don't always want to try to reinvent the wheel. It's already
exactly.
working, and I think that's what they said. You know, it's working well now, so let's make it look a little bit tougher, but not too much different.
Yeah, definitely less risky how they did the design compared to what they did with Tundra.
Absolutely.
And I love how much this is sticking out, right? This huge fender flares here,
Yes.
which is like a little bit like what you see in Ford Bronco and Jeep Wrangler. So
Sure.
while they don't compete directly,
Yeah.
they have some of that theme happening. So
Absolutely, and these trucks are wider than the standard Tacomas too, so I think that helps to kind of visually accentuate the width as well, the black fenders.
let's open the hood and take a look inside. Okay, so we got the two trucks side by side. They both have the exact same engine, iForce Max. Stephen, tell me a little bit more about the engine.
So first of all, these two trucks, TRD Pro and Trailhunter, are hybrid only, so they're not going to offer the lesser engine here. Total output here is 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque, which is a big torque number.
Yeah, that's a big number.
And that is now sent through an 8-speed automatic transmission. So in the powertrain front, you know, a total departure from what they used to have, no more V6. And that is happening a little bit around the industry. We saw General Motors do the same move. They went to small displacement, turbocharged 4-cylinder, and I think that will slowly become a trend, you know, for everybody.
Yes, yeah. So as most of you guys know, I owned a few different Tacomas in the past. They were always V6 engine, naturally aspirated, beautiful engine, but lacking in power and torque a bit.
Yeah,
so the good thing about these ones is not only are they turbocharged, but they're also with a hybrid system, and the maximum torque happens at very low RPM. So when you step on it, you should get a really good grunt feel that maybe didn't happen with V6 engines of the past. These ones have a tremendous amount of power and torque, and even without the hybrid system, the power and torque is also commendable. So we don't know exactly how they're going to feel yet. We haven't driven these trucks, and we don't have a number for 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, but it should improve over the older ones.
Sure.
And more importantly, it should feel much peppy compared to the old Tacomas.
Absolutely.
But what about other trucks in the market, Steven, without citing all the numbers or anything?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think we should just mention that this is an exciting year for midsize trucks, right? We have new Tacoma, new Ford Ranger, and new General Motors twins, Colorado and GMC Canyon. Now, the Ranger and the Tacoma we've not driven yet, so I can only really comment on the GMs, but I've been in those extensively, mostly the high output version of those trucks. And I will admit, in those General Motors trucks, I preferred the V6 over the new Turbo 4. And the reason is a pretty typical turbocharged reason. You're really digging into that pedal to get high in the rev range, to really feel the power come on. When the power kicks in those trucks, it's strong, but off the line, it doesn't have that smooth V6 power it used to have.
Yes.
So in that way, I like the powertrain, but I don't like it as much as the old one in the Colorado and Canyon. And the Tacoma should solve the issue with the battery pack. Because again, the hybrid power off the line really takes you off, and then the turbo picks up from there, right?
Yeah.
So in that way, yeah, I think the Tacoma will be sort of superior to the GMs. And then at Ford, of course, you have the EcoBoost lineup, which will probably feel maybe somewhat similar, but they don't have a battery pack either. So maybe off the line it won't be quite as good. The only difference with the Ranger, of course, is they have the turbocharged V6 available, 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
That thing should be a monster.
That's a truck to buy, maybe.
Yeah, the Ranger Raptor looks amazing, and Toyota didn't try to chase them into that, you know, crazy high horsepower stratosphere. So that'll be interesting too.
What about the Jeep Gladiator? And I'll talk about the Nissan Frontier in a second as well.
Sure. So the Gladiator, of course, soldiers on with the Pentastar V6, 3.6 liter V6. You know, same thing, smooth, super reliable engine, not a ton of torque, not that big hit off the line, but you do get the really nice V6 linear power. I do like the 3.6 in the Gladiator quite a bit, and I think linear is that word, like the predictable power of it. That's what the NA V6s were always good for, right?
Yeah.
So I do like that aspect of the Gladiator.
And I did have the Nissan Frontier just last week. I was driving it back at my home in Vancouver, and you know what, same thing. It's got the beautiful naturally aspirated feel. When you step on it, you don't get a lot of torque right away, but it kind of progressively builds up. and it's just a very smooth running engine. So I'm really hoping that when we finally get to drive these Tacomas, that they'll prove to be just as smooth and just as interesting to drive.
Exactly.
We won't know yet.
Yeah.
But like yourself, I do like the feel of a V6, so that's one concern I have.
Agreed.
But let's hope that Toyota did their homework and that these things will feel quite peppy and fun to drive.
Absolutely.
But I do have to admit, I like the Frontier's engine a lot.
It is good.
Yeah, and also the Nissan Frontier, much like the old Tacoma, kept the hydraulic power steering, obviously, the old design, old truck. And so you get really heavy steering feel, lots of kickback and feel from the road.
Yeah.
And so you know exactly which way the steering is pointed.
Oh, yeah.
And that feel is very difficult to replicate in the electric power steering or EPS system that's on almost all the new trucks these days. Although you can still have an accurate steering with EPS, but you lose the sensation. You get a little bit more numb feeling, which is what happened with the Tundra. So I'm really hoping that we won't lose too much of a sensation with a new Tacoma, but we'll find out shortly.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that should just be mentioned is the fact that they went to this hybrid, and so far they're the only really brand pushing the hybrid idea in pickup trucks. To be totally honest, I'm a little upset that this Tacoma doesn't have a plug-in. I really thought Tacoma Prime might have been a thing, but anyways, it's still nice to see Toyota, like, they love hybrids. Toyota's known for hybrids, so why not build hybrid trucks? So it's exciting to see them even just going there at all.
And the fact that Toyota showed the electric version, like a fully electric version of these a few years ago in 2021, when Akio Toyota did an actual international conference, they showed a little glimpse of what appears to be a fully electric truck, and in that one actually kind of foreshadowed and predicted what these designs might look like. And I'm hoping that will happen next few years so that we might not have a plug-in hybrid, but maybe we'll get a fully electric Tacoma or something similar to Tacoma down the road. And maybe that's the truck to buy.
Yeah, maybe, right? We have to wait and see, right? Even if it shows up.
Excellent. All right, let's hop into one of the two trucks here and just for a discussion about what the interior might be like in these two models.
Sure.
Okay, so first we're inside the TRD Pro version of the Tacoma here. And it's a bit of a standard fare in terms of the overall design because it looks like a shrunken version of the Tundra. I like the design a lot. The quality looks really good. And these seats are amazing because they're very different from anything else we've seen from any other manufacturers. Steven's going to climb into the back and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the seat.
Sure, so Toyota calls these their isodynamic seats. Again, you can kind of see right here, the damping happens sort of between this back plate and the front of the seat. And yeah, these shocks are actually going to provide more damping force. Toyota specifically said the idea is to help you keep your vision planted on the same thing so you're not head all over the place while you're going down the trail, which is a neat idea. Now you can actually add air. You pop this little cap here and you can add air into these shocks too, so then you increase the damping force or let air out to decrease it. Again, I'm a big heavy guy, so I'd probably want more damping. Maybe you need less. And then finally, you can also turn these fully off too, so if you just don't want any of that damping force, you can get rid of it. And as David said, this is unique. We've never seen any brand do something like this before. In the world of Baja racing, those guys have tried just about everything in terms of shocks on their seats and air ride seats and all kinds of stuff. So it's not a new idea to have a racing seat like this. First application we've seen though, especially in a pickup truck. And now I will climb in and I'll deliver the bad news about the isodynamic seats. And that is, this thing eats up a good couple of inches of my knee room, and I stand at 6'2", over 300 pounds. I do not fit well in the back of this truck. I have just enough headroom, although I am touching, but yeah, the knee room is basically a non-starter, sadly.
So Steven, I'm going to try the climbing as well.
Sure, of course, I'm not a typical human in my size, so please show me how you fit.
I have a bad knee, so I can barely climb up either. But you know what? Well, the seats, I guess we should have moved it forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it is actually tight for me too. I can fit.
It's not bad.
And there's a little bit of space here where I can put my knee in.
Oh, that's actually interesting, yeah.
But you know what? If something happens and my knee hits one of these caps here, can you guys see that thing? Oh my goodness, that could be a bit of an injury. Well, that could happen. So I'm not sure why they did that, but I guess if you put your knee between these spaces, should be okay.
Yeah, it would almost be nice to have a cover, an additional cover.
Yeah, I think so. So I gotta admit, I love the design and the whole idea behind these seats is so unique and so different. But maybe it's not as practical as you think because it just eats up so much space.
Sure.
So, which means that we should hop into Trailhunter because that one doesn't have these seats. Let's take a look in the back if we can actually get out of here. Okay, so we'll hop into the Trailhunter, which, by the way, just to give you a bit of a glimpse into the interior design, come over here for a second.
Same thing.
You'll see a difference in terms of the design here. much more of a lighter feel, light gray. It's much lighter color and different design altogether. You get nice yellow pinstripes and yellow accents throughout. It almost looks a little bit more upscale. I don't think that's what's meant to be, but you get also like a granite rock kind of look here instead of the carbon fiber look on the TRD Pro. And otherwise pretty well similar. Really nice grip here and kind of interesting design. So I love the design. It looks good. It's well made even for a prototype. But let's take a look at the back again, and we're going to ask Steven to sit behind this seat here and see if it's any better on the Trailhunter.
Show it off. So yeah, immediately you'll notice it just looks like there is more space, because there is. So here, let me hop in. And yeah, I mean, headroom is basically the same. It's still not quite enough for me, but the knee room in this truck, while still tight, and of course this seat is a little bit further back, it could be pushed forward, the knee room is just enough. So it's definitely an important consideration. If you go with isodynamic seats, you're gonna, not prioritize your rear seat space. So that's up to you. And you know what, David, I'll mention one other thing while I'm sitting here, because we haven't shown it yet. You get this awesome Toyota compressor kit now when you buy the Trailhunter as well, which is pretty cool, and that's meant for the standard air compressor in the back. It comes with all the connections and hoses that you could possibly ever need to not just fill tires. I mean, there's like a basketball pin in here too, so you could fill up anything you want off of those. I just think that's just another cool feature. It happened to be sitting here, so I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, in fact, in the Frontier, I think some of you guys already know, but there's a removable speaker in the front dash, which is a JBL system there. If we can climb in, and actually,
I can reach it easy for you, David. Don't worry, pop it out there.
And there you go, portable Bluetooth speakers that, when it's placed in the dash, it functions as an additional speaker. When you take it off, it disables it, but you can use it as a portable speaker. I still worry that I'm going to lose this, or and what's going to happen in terms of replacing it. But like I said, I love the interior design. I like the color combo, and I really like the color combo of this particular Trailhunter.
Sure.
I think this is called the oxide bronze or something like that.
Yeah, the unique wheels as well are quite nice on this truck.
It's also bronze wheel, bronze emblem, and so I really like this one. If I were to buy a Tacoma, Trailhunter is what I want to buy. If it's a Tacoma, which one do you want to buy?
I lean TRD Pro, and I've said it before, for me it's about going fast, and that's what this truck is all about. I love that high speed aspect. Overall styling though, David, you're talking about it, I think we should just sort of try and compare it to the other trucks, because with GM, again, with Chevy and GMC, those trucks are incredibly angry looking these days. They went for that really aggressive angry face. Again, to my eyes, not a bad looking truck, but more polarizing than this is. Again, this is sort of kept that same design with a little bit more of that heft to it. This I think is going to please the masses, please a couple more people. And then you have the Ranger Raptor and just the Ranger in general, and that's an interesting case because that's a worldwide product. So that Ranger has to be styled not just for North America, which is why it's not quite as
more tame.
Exactly. It's not quite as big and bold and beefy, because that's what North Americans do, right? So that's a bit of a different look too. So just just looking at these trucks now, the Gladiator has its own thing going on because it has that unique Jeep thing. So kind of setting that aside, I think the Tacoma probably looks maybe not the best, but it's one of the best looking ones.
And we still get the scoop here, right? You want to talk about this one a little bit, Steven?
Absolutely. So there's your desert air intake. The lawyers will not allow Toyota to call it a snorkel, but we know it as a snorkel. And I think the key here is, integrated right from the factory. So it's a nice design, nicely set up. And you'll also notice too, when they used to have it face forward, and then you could change to face rearward, the actual intake here. But of course, we live in Canada, so the second it snows, especially, that's going to get plugged up. Now they've just put that intake sort of on the rear of that snorkel, which is nice. It's a nice feature to have for water, but then of course for dust as well, just to get clean air, is nice for your engine, nice for your air filter.
Did the other manufacturer offer this one, Steven?
Not from the factory that I can think of. I think that's only been Toyota.
Although, like with the Jeep brand, you can buy pretty well anything
off the market. Of course, tons of accessories, but not straight from the factory. And I think, again, that's something, we're seeing that across the industry, but Toyota really embraced it in terms of what are people doing in the aftermarket anyways, and then why don't we just go out there and do it right from the dealership, which I think especially the Trailhunter shows that, right?
Now, the last truck we didn't mention so far, which is a bit of a controversial truck, is the Honda Ridgeline.
Of course.
Because it's shaped like a truck, it's got a pickup bed, so, and therefore it is, technically speaking, a truck, but uses unitized body, not body on the frame like these trucks do. So a lot of people will argue that it's not a real truck. What do you think of that, Steven?
Well, I'm okay with calling it a truck. I guess I'll start there. I think that it's got a little bed on it, so it's a truck, but it is a very different truck. If you're commuting 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it's probably the best driving truck that there is. I really believe on road, it just drives like a beautiful big car. But obviously you lose some of that kind of badass truck feeling that the Tacoma absolutely has. So that depends on, you know, not just what you're doing with it, but what kind of attitude you want out of your truck. There's not a lot of attitude coming out of a Ridgeline.
I guess if you want to use a pickup bed, but you're using it mostly in city or highway use, it's still actually a plausible alternative to these models.
Totally.
Along with the Maverick, which is a little bit smaller, but Maverick is selling like hotcakes, and that's also a unitized body truck.
Absolutely.
And people love that thing. So there's obviously a market for that.
Yep.
And I don't know whether it will happen or not, but my prediction, which is something that maybe others don't talk about, is that Toyota will indeed come up with a unitized body truck at some point in the future. Maybe it's an electric version of it.
Absolutely.
But at that point, maybe that's the truck to buy.
Yeah.
But bigger question for you is, if you were to buy a midsize truck right now for you, what would you buy?
It is a very tough question, David, and I will obviously have to preface it once again by saying we haven't driven the new Tacoma and we haven't driven the new Ford Ranger, so I can only speak on what we've seen. I will admit that the Ford Ranger Raptor looks amazing to me. I think that they nailed it. I love the power out of that truck. So I can't say I would buy it, but I maybe would say I'm most excited for that truck, followed closely by this truck right here, this TRD
excellent.
Pro.
Yeah, so for me, I don't know yet, because like Steven said, I haven't driven all the trucks. I think my heart is drawn to Tacoma because I've owned 4 of them in the past, and obviously I like to talk about Tacoma, so the Trailhunter would be my first choice. But also the Jeep Gladiator is really attractive. I like that Jeep look. You can remove the roof panels, and a friend of mine recently bought the Jeep Wrangler, and you know, when you remove all the panels, it's a cool truck to drive.
Sure, still the only convertible truck on the market too. It makes it unique, right?
So I'm kind of toss up between Gladiator and Trailhunter, and until such time I'm able to drive them back to back, maybe we can't decide it.
Exactly.
But you know, the good news is there's so many options and choices in the midsize market for the first time, and there'll be more, right? There might be other midsize trucks coming into market, so this is like the exciting time for all of us. And so we are ever so thankful that this market is booming and that we have so many choices.
Especially in off-road trucks, David. I just want to add that, right?
Yes.
Off-road trims these days. We're getting off-road trims on off-road trims. Yep. So if you're into off-roading, overlanding, or adventuring, now's probably the best time to be into pickup trucks.
Absolutely. It's going to be a really interesting few years to come. And we got a Nissan Z in the back racing around, so it's a little bit noisy, but I want to thank Steven from Truck King to show up into my humble channel.
Of course.
Don't forget to subscribe to his channel, and obviously hopefully you can do that with my channel as well. More to come your way, but we're just really thankful to have you guys watch our videos. But until next video, we're signing off for now. Thank you so much.
Thanks.